I don't know everything, but I've learned a lot the hard way. And I don't always cry at these videos, but when I do, I'm giving you my heart and the truth. So if there is anything to cry about today, I hope I do. I think I'm saying that because I can feel it coming because this stuff matters to me a lot. The topic of marriage and love and religion and division and other implications that this question will propose. The question is tips to success for marrying a revert slash non-Bengali or outside of the culture in general. Mind you, I haven't done either of these things. However, someone has piqued curiosity of what I might say about this based on maybe my psychological background, working with married couples, working within the Desi and Muslim community. And I'm so happy to share my perspective. And I don't know what part of life you're in, what time you're seeing this, when you're seeing this, but I think it will be timeless. I know a lot of people that could have used this conversation years ago. Quick disclaimer: spirituality, religion, rules, regulations, like some of these things will come up. You don't ever have to think like me or say that I'm preaching to anyone to think like me, but I'm just going to share what I found, what has worked, what has healed my soul. For other things, you can go to, there's endless resources that you can find. I also think that a lot of traditional Islamic media or scholars or people that's teaching, they're not really teaching on the basis of coming from control and abuse when they talk about family and marriage and all these kinds of things, or from the perspective of a woman. I think there are many out there, of course, but like I said, everybody has a different perspective and it's valuable to share and listen to each other, not trying to convince each other of everything, but sharing experience that could help us all. Tips to success for marrying a revert, non Bengali, or outside. This question tells me that there's something specific to a revert or specifically marrying outside of a relationship that requires specific considerations when trying to have a successful marriage with a revert or a non Bengali. Because then you would just be asking, what are the tips of a successful marriage, right? But they're specifically asking to a revert or non Bengali. A revert is someone who has confirmed their faith in Islam. Marrying a revert means you're marrying someone that was not born into an Islamic household or was not raised as a Muslim from childhood. So at some point in their life, they converted or reverted to Islam based on the premise that everyone is born a Muslim. See, these are the kinds of things that make me want to cry, right? A lot of people don't consider reverts or converts as real Muslims. These are the kinds of things that really penetrate my heart. Whew, man, I knew it. See, I told you I knew it. Okay. Sometimes sometimes I find that reverts are so much more grounded in their faith than someone that was raised in a Muslim household or raised as a Muslim by their parents. It's not to say one is better or the other. Like, I'm not that person that's going to hold more weight to anyone. But the reason why I say they seem more grounded in their faith is because they researched probably like crazy to the ends of the earth. Their soul was looking for something. And then they decided to take their Shahada, to convert, to become a Muslim. Whereas people that were raised within an Islamic household, we don't go to the crux of everything because we're kind of buying what our parents are or our community or the imam or wherever we go. We're kind of accepting that. Not to say that people of both don't search, and it's just there's a different process that you go through when Islam you kind of grew up with around you. Culturally, it's passed down that reverts or converts are really not Muslim, especially when they're marrying or reverting, converting to Islam for marriage. A lot of people don't buy that that could happen or that's real. And it hurts because you don't really know what that person is going through. You don't really know what their soul is calling them to do. Sometimes you can, because there are people who say, well, I'm not a very religious person and I don't have a problem with this and I like the customs and all these things and I'll do it. Like, some people would go to the lengths of doing this for the family, for the families to be okay with it, just for the sake of what is society going to say if I have someone in the family that is non-Muslim. So you got to convert and then you can get married. Like, a lot of these things are happening. Oh God, wait till I talk about when arranged marriages lead to haram relationships and a haram life. I've been refraining from talking about this. But there's a lot of trauma and drama, and I'm all about the trauma and drama. That's my perspective. The reason why I'm talking about this is not because I'm, the person to go for a successful marriage. Yes, in a sense I am, but really it's because I know the background, the psychology of trauma and drama in marriage and family and relationships and child rearing and all these kinds of things. That's just my specialty. So that's about a revert, right? That might pose one issue because otherwise there's nothing wrong. There's no A successful marriage with a revert is the same thing as a successful marriage with any other person that you might choose that's a Muslim. They may have a learning process involved, they may have a history. I'm assuming that you're asking me because people might be against this. Like, you shouldn't marry a revert because they're probably not from an Islamic cultural background, which they're two different things. Anyone can be a Muslim, no matter where you're from, how you look like. And then a non-Bengali, that's a whole different thing. So I'm assuming the person that asked me is a Bengali person. So marrying outside of the culture in general, I could scream all I want. Oh God, this is very, very personal to me because love, marriage, family, they are very, ooh, here we go, the tears. They're extremely important to me because, ooh, I knew it. Ooh. Okay. I should have had some tissue around. Okay. Well, we'll work through it. Okay. They're extremely, extremely important to me because when you are in a relationship with someone, be it friend or family or whoever, it's your inside, it's your soul, it's your heart, it's your beingness that feels the safety, the comfort, the fun, the excitement, the healing, the repairing of the things that went wrong. Like, even when you're repairing something, it brings you closer together if you're really truly repairing it to where both people are coming back together. So when there's these things such as religion and culture to divide us, it really hurts because you're taking the humanity away and you're going off of what is my family going to feel. You're taking the soulful reason of even having a relationship or a marriage away. I'm planning a life with someone. That's what I'm doing here. It's the idea that we go off of the outside, society, ego, people's approval, not the actual feeling that I'm getting of the relationship, of why I want to do this. So I'm looking at the container. Somebody's Bengali, somebody's wherever else, Indonesian, somebody's Malaysian, somebody's Guatemalan. I don't know. We're looking at the outside container rather than the soul of the person, what lies inside of the container. And people are just not okay with it. They're just not okay with it. So you as a person, like, if you're considering that I want to marry a revert or I want to marry somebody outside of my culture, outside of being Bengali, I could say it all I want that Islamically, if you're marrying outside of your culture, you can, provided that they're Muslim, but then there are some legal and other laws that a man can marry a Christian or this or that. I'm not that person to tell you all the rules of what's okay, what's not okay. I'm not that person. But from my beliefs and what I've researched and what I've understood and learned is that you can marry outside of your culture. There's nothing wrong with that. And if anything, in my perspective, it brings more humanity on earth to society, to families, to understand each other's differences, celebrate each other's cultures, learn each other's language. Like, to me, that, oh, I'm gonna cry again. To me, that is the most beautiful thing that this planet really needs, I believe. However, and I could say that and I could stand on it, And I could believe it, and you could believe it, but there are some realities of people that don't think like this. Your parents, your culture, your family, whoever may say, like, no, that's not okay, that's not right. The reason why I am also okay talking about this, because there's a such thing as abuse and control, where people are trying to control your thoughts, your beliefs, what you should and shouldn't be doing, what is Islamically correct and what's not, because technically you can say, no, it is correct, I can marry outside of my religion, and etc. That's it, period. But there are people that will tell you opposite and tell you that that's wrong. That's not in our faith. They're not a faithful person. You can't do this, just off of their own morals, values, desires of how they want to live in the world. And they're controlling you as a child or as a person of the masjid or community or whatever. There have been so many people pushed this way to what their beliefs should and shouldn't be. And then they ruin their life because they went the wrong way based on, again, outside 3D worldly things instead of the path internally, which is really what a marriage is. Internal path with someone together. It does contribute. Of course, it does contribute. But if you're doing it for those reasons, it is in my belief that it's going to be not a marriage of true depth, because you're going off of the merit. Now, if you are the person that believes that, okay, they should be, I do believe that I want to stick within my culture and all these things, that's your choice. If it's somebody else imposing it on you, I'm so sorry. If it's not on your own beliefs, I believe that's going to derail you, because you're going against yourself of what you believe in because of what other people. And I have had countless clients that have just done it because this is what my parents want and this is what they've told me and this is the right thing. This is why the conversation even is presented is, am I really allowed to have my own beliefs? Am I really allowed to marry non-Bengali? Am I really allowed to marry someone outside of my culture? And this is stuff that your parents probably will not tell you if you are posing this question, and I will tell you. It is a beautiful thing to be able to do that. There are considerations. People will say, like, I've heard scholars and imams say that, even though it is true and it is beautiful to do so, there may be realities that you need to look into. For example, if you have to push and thread to do this, and if you are not as confident as your spouse or spouse to be who you're talking about it with, if they are not as firm on certain things and on the same page with you, it's going to have lot of a lot of shaky ground, could even lead to resentment, abuse, and things like that. Because then it may be, oh, I chose you for my family and now you're not being this and that. No, that's not gonna work. That is like a slap in the face to what we decided to do, because now you're holding it leverage. And that might be totally separate from the thing that you and I are even talking about. And that's clouding your judgment from the decision that we made to honor one another. And you are my priority now. It's not to say that the parents don't matter. You're my responsibility now as a spouse. We're taking care of each other now. If certain things happen, and now because I feel like I've went against my family and did this, and now you're not complying with the things because blah blah blah, that's a separate conversation, which then can be brought in. So it has to be with someone who's not going to hold a leverage. And again, you see, this comes back down to your character, the kind of person you are, how you treat people, the kind of respect and consideration you have for people. And this is why anyone can be a Muslim, because it has to do with your heart, especially in the terms of marrying a revert or a convert. I feel like reverts, because they got out of the egoic society and all of these different things, they went so deep into finding out what is spirituality in Islam. How do I take the steps? Why do I even need it? Like, there's a need, there's a reason why you're looking for it. And what is that need? And how is this fulfilling it? What am I finding along the way that helps you for the rest of your life? I feel like they may be able to honor you as a human being, your needs, because they went to the depths of the earth and everything. So whereas some person might say, oh no, they're not really Muslim, they're doing it for marriage, I would say something the opposite. Obviously there's a case by case basis, because people do do that. There are people that convert and really see the beauty. It is so possible. It is it is so possible for someone to enlighten your eyes. Wow. It is so possible for someone to enlighten the eyes of your heart to a faith, and I don't mean Islam in specific. I don't mean Islam in specific. Some of my Christian friends opened me up to see the beauty in Christianity, and I'll never regret that. I'll never hide that. It is so possible for a human being to open the eyes of your heart and find substance and compassion and love and dedication and discipline in faith. And that's possible. So don't take that away from the reverts. Beware of the people that are not in that phase and they're kind of doing it because they don't have or don't have the need to have a faith for themselves, and they're doing it because it can pose issues. Because then if you marry someone for their faith, like, oh, like, I really do want a Muslim person, then you're marrying someone that converted but they don't adhere to the principles, then what was it all for? A lot of people are doing it just because they want to keep you, they want you, and that's not going to help in the long run. A lot of you, I don't think it's good to be on either ends of, okay, well, if you convert, then I can be with you. And then you may not even be knowing your faith as much. It's not a who's doing it better or worse. I'm not that person. I will never be that person. I'm not that person. Maybe I was once that person when I had no idea of any better when I was much younger, but that's not what this is about. I wouldn't want to be on either ends of the spectrum where you can convert for me, great, I'll marry you, or I'm not very attached to any faith, I'll marry you. So in general, tips that I would say after discussing all of that, and because I'm very don't want to, but sometimes I have to because there's a lot of this stuff going on when it comes to trauma and drama and control, and these are all things that take us away from our spirituality and our faith and being able to even stand living on earth, the low vibrational, low density place that it is. And it takes the soulful purpose of a walk-in marriage of what it's really for. So general tips when it comes to family, or before it can come to family, before it can come to how do we make this work between us, how do we work together, it really has to be based on you and your beliefs, your faith, what you want for yourself. Say, for example, for me, if I am finding somebody, and I grew up with the kind of like, you got to be with a Bengali person, you got to be with a Muslim person. This is how I grew up. And this is why I found all of this information because I'm not the person that you can just tell me what to do without reason, like expect me to just do it. I need to be taught. I don't mind listening. I don't mind you talking me through it, addressing my concerns. That's fine. But if you just tell me I'm just supposed to listen, there's very little people that I can do that with. Very, 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 very little people. And so I had to find out all of this stuff. And then I was able to help so many people in their path or guide or be of assistance. Right? Like, you're considering marriage. If I was someone like you considering marriage, and faith and culture and all these things are really super important. To me, the most important thing is, how is your soul? How is your compassion? How is your personal relationship with yourself and your faith? Those are the most important things to me. That would influence my decision of whether I am going to address it with my parents, if they're okay with it or not. It's not like I would start a fight with them, but I would be ever so patient with the person that I truly believe in and want in my life. You might be different. The person who asked this question, you might be different in that, well, it doesn't really matter to me if they're Bengali or not, or maybe it does. Clearly, by the question, it might not. But your parents, it's very important to them. Are you willing to sit down and speak to them? And I wouldn't say to fight or argue, but I would say to address the facts. that I can marry outside of my culture and anyone can be a Muslim. Many parents will not listen. Some people might throw you out. Some people might disgrace you, dishonor you, disown you, those things. And it's up to you what you feel about that and how you feel about that. And maybe your case is not that simple, or maybe it's not that drastic. Maybe your parents wouldn't do something like that. But there certainly are people that would do that. So it's a really process of maturing, and the more you study and embody your faith, I believe that you will be able to make the decisions that you need to. It really has to be about you. For example, if somebody is outside of my culture, I know based on my faith, based on my beliefs, not based on what anyone allows me to do or not, it's based on me, I can marry outside of my culture. However, if that person or their family is putting up so much of a fight that is it's kind of dishonoring or tainting my very pure feeling of wanting to join, and they're just not vibrationally in that openness and acceptance, and they're making it harder, and that's influencing my prospective spouse, it may not be the person. I wouldn't say make a rash quick decision. I would say observe, talk, see, but it may not be the right person, even though maybe I really really feel it, maybe I want it. It has to be a meeting of the middle from both sides. And things happen. People make vows and break them. That's another reality. If you're going to go towards, getting married and doing these things, you can't expect that everything is going to be perfect. People dishonor people, you know, you think one thing and it doesn't happen. So that's another thing. Different topic. Marrying outside of the culture, just in general, like if it was this kind of thing that you're looking for, I would say learn their language, learn the kinds of food that they eat, make it, go to, the places that they go to in their culture, partake in the activities, um, do those kinds of things for and with your spouse. I think that's so beautiful. I think it's so beautiful to do that, to love the other person and all the parts that make them them. I think it's so beautiful. Um, and same thing with religion. I'm not teaching specifically Islamic values or in an Islamic perspective. Maybe this is wrong. Maybe people will tell you it's wrong. Maybe Islamically it's wrong. I'm not trying to change anybody's religion or faith or anything. This is my perspective. I think that you can honor your faith and I can honor my faith and we can be married. However, many of us would like to stick to our own faith just because it's so important to us. It means everything to us. So, because it makes us who we are. So, it's a lot of this is completely up to you. I know you asked for tips. Just be patient. If you're the type of person that can see beyond the 3D, the outside, the culture, the division, the religion, if you're somebody that can see beyond and it's something inside of you that's telling you that, you know, I don't like these are not the things that I want to go through. I choose to go through an internal path and all these things. Be patient with the people around you, be patient with your parents, be patient with your community, be patient with people that might say things or wow. Wow. Be patient with people that don't understand or that might pose a threat to you and what you're trying to do. Because a lot of people don't mean it. They just don't know any better. They're not coming from their heart and they just don't know any better. And there's a reason why in the Quran it says it's not the eyes that are blind, it's the heart. If you're someone that can see through the heart and not your physical 3D eyes, just be so patient, and your relationship with your faith, with your creator, is going to help you make your decisions. Lean into that though. I'm giving you, societal and family relation perspective, but it's going to be ultimately you. And we can all do this. No one is far removed from our creator. The creator is closer than our jugular vein. So this is why it hurts so much, because it's such a beautiful and pure thing. The reason why people should even get married, what the fruits of it are, what the path, what the destruction of it is. You never have to believe anything I say. You never have to go along with anything I say. I'm not a spiritual or a scholar or a even psychologist. I've wiped out every single label possible. I'm just a human on earth, giving my perspective and my heart to people who need it, or who are looking for it, who desire it, or who might find assistance or help from my perspective. So if there's anything else that I missed or any perspective, please do ask, especially for the person who I answered this question for. Oh my God. I really did not. Look, I already mentioned this before, that if I cry, I'm going to cry, but I was not expecting all of that. And thank you for allowing me to be open. Thank you for being here. I'm going to continue answering some more questions about marriage. Thank you so much. And thank you, God, for allowing me to do this. Take care.